Let the record show the four of us are here with Joan still off. Okay, we've got a public comment policy. I'm supposed to read this. If there's anybody from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table over there along the wall, read the script, and fill out the form to make a public comment. At the end, we will reserve about 30 minutes for public comments. You will only get 3 minutes to speak on your topic. The board will not respond. Okay, we got consent agenda. Everybody read that over.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is introduce the new hires to the board. First up is Benjamin Brown.
Here, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
When did you start?
Yesterday.
Okay. Kind of scary?
Not really.
Okay. What'd you do before?
I was in the Air Force. I just did 6 years and I just got out, separated in March.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you for your service.
Thank you. Ryan Sayers.
That's me.
How you doing?
Good, how are you guys?
Good. What'd you do before?
I just graduated last year, so this is my first job.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Have you started yet?
Yesterday.
Awesome.
Madison Stackhouse? Madison?
I used to work in juvenile corrections in Arizona.
In where?
In Arizona.
Oh, okay. What'd you do? Miss the winters?
I never lived. I live in Omaha. I just moved here like a year ago, so
Okay,
it's fun. It's fun. So
all right. Welcome.
When did you start?
yesterday.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Keegan Faulkner?
Yeah, how we doing, yo?
Good.
I started yesterday too. Just like him, I graduated last year, so this is like the first real job I've had. Pretty good though. I like it so
Okay.
far.
First day.
Hey, can only get better.
Good. Joshua Littlefield.
Started yesterday. I just got out of the military, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Jason Lieberman.
That's me.
Okay,
Started yesterday. Spent the last 15 years with HHS, last 3 with Child Protective Services, and decided to get into corrections.
here in Iowa?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, let's see. You're all detention officers. And then Erica Kephart, secretary for the jail.
Yep.
Yeah. Little easier,
Yeah. Yeah, probably a little bit.
just a different job, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming.
Man,
Yeah, appreciate you all being here and introducing yourselves. As veterans, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I appreciate you guys. Supervisor.
Good. Who else came up? Anybody else? That was it? Thanks for coming in. Okay, Bethany Wilcoxon, Senior Advisor, McClure, update on the progress in Minden. Hi, Bethany.
Good morning, good to see you all. So
Thanks, you guys.
really, in this packet, we'll go through, but a couple of the key things really want to call out. The partnerships and the vision. You know, the tornado hit over 2 years ago now. I imagine you've all been to Minden since then. They've made a lot of really great progress, thanks in large part to the vision that they've laid out time and again, as we've looked at different options for bettering the community, and then those partnerships. So got those called out, emphasizing, of course, the partnership with the county. Thank you for your ongoing support, and we will dive in with that. So first, want to focus on downtown. We received an award from Paint Iowa Beautiful. This is a partnership between Keep Iowa Beautiful and Diamond Vogel. So we are going to be repainting City Hall I was actually just on a call with Habitat for Humanity of Council Bluffs on my way over this morning. So they are going to be helping us out with that initiative, overseeing the whole painting initiative, and really making sure that it goes off without a hitch. You know, there have been so many improvements across town, but we don't want to forget City Hall either. So that will be happening, hopefully this summer is the plan.
Are you doing the outside
The exterior, yes,
and the inside?
just the exterior.
Okay.
But with Tamarack being resurfaced and everything else being improved, we wanted City Hall to really match the momentum of the community in general.
Cool.
We are also looking at a couple additional properties through the Community Catalyst Program with Iowa Economic Development Authority. Just waiting to hear from particular property owners to see if they are ready to move forward, but that remains on the table. So potentially a couple other things coming to downtown Minden. I have shared with you before the application to U.S. Economic Development Administration. I feel like for a while I was saying, next time I'm here, next time I'm here. Well, you know what? We finally have the grant. $1.2 million. It was a practice in patience and resilience for the community. It's an 80% grant, so the community will be matching that 20% locally. A portion of that is coming from that Rural Potawatomi County Infrastructure Collaborative that you all put money into a few years ago. That work was going to happen just as the tornado hit, so that of course was paused. So that is moving forward. So thank you to the county and Iowa West for your support on that front. Next up, Kaler Park. We do have some funding secured from Keep Iowa Beautiful. They have a program called Plant Iowa Beautiful for the America 250 celebration. So we are going to be installing some native plants at Kaler Park. We are actually sourcing those from Golden Hills RC&D. So really trying to be mindful as we're moving all of this work forward that we're lifting up as many local groups as we possibly can. So I was just talking to Lance earlier this morning about those plants. Those will be going in the coming weeks though. Also, you'll see in your packets, we have the design for Kaler Park, the native plant palette, but also a natural playscape. So this is something that really encourages sensory feeling opportunities, getting kiddos comfortable with logs and the outdoors. And it's, you know, plastic playgrounds are great, but this is another complement to that. So we have actually been working with county conservation. We had our landscape architects out at Hitchcock Nature Center last week with Chad, picking out some logs. So those will be coming forward, just figuring out all of those final details. But those will be a really fun opportunity for kiddos and, you know, a really unique opportunity for Minden to complement also what's happening at the Community Recreation Hub. So we're pretty excited about that. And we do have, like I said, the concept included in your packet. So boulders and stones and logs, timber, those native plantings, just to encourage kids to play in a little bit different manner. And then we do also have another grant announcement. Can't share details on it yet, but that will be coming in later June, which we expect that work to be completed by the fall. So excited to share when we're able to on that particular initiative. Any questions on Kaler Park and what we have planned there? Yeah, and again, conservation partnership has been really fabulous. So thank you to that team. Jumping forward here, switching gears a little bit to the North 40. As you may recall, the city purchased about 40 acres on the north side of town, again, just before the tornado hit. That turned our attention to redeveloping the community. Much of that housing has been redeveloped at this point, though. So we are turning our attention again to the North 40. You'll see we have a new site layout, really just encouraging connectivity, looking at a variety of lot sizes and opportunities for people so we can have a mix of housing price points to make sure that the community is accessible, but really emphasizing lot quality rather than quantity. There was a previous design that really just jammed a lot of lots in there, but they maybe weren't going to be the best experience. So we're down to 88 lots rather than 119, making sure we're connecting to the east side of town as well so people can get to Kaler Park, use those connections or use that park that we're putting the work into, and then also getting to the southern part of town as well. If any of you are familiar with that site, you might know there are a lot of topography issues. So we're trying to work with that versus fighting it, just to minimize the level of earthwork that is required there. So you'll see we've got some of those bioswales, greenways with those native plantings, again, picking up on some of those same kinds of plants that we'll have at Kaler Park to give the town a little bit of that cohesive feel. And potentially a dog park included in that as well. If any of you know Mayor Zimmerman, he is very excited to take Harley to a future dog park. So we're excited about that moving forward. Our engineering team is continuing with the development on this, and then we'll be seeking additional funding for actual implementation and working to bring in developers.
Stephanie,
Yes.
how many in the first phase? How many houses?
That's to be determined. We've just gotten this blessed by city council. We have shown it to Debbie Durham. She liked it. We're hoping for funding from Iowa Economic Development Authority, but we've not gotten to phasing quite yet. But I can let you know once our engineering team has that figured out.
It's really,
Thank you. Good. Okay, jumping to the community recreation hub. If you'll recall, this is going to be the community club building, redeveloped, Little League field, hopefully a second Little League field, walking loop, an inclusive playground segment of the Great American Rail Trail, and some of those trailhead amenities as well. So we've been in talks with USDA Rural Development. They have some emergency funding. So what you see in your packet is the initial concept that we're looking at as part of our preliminary engineer or architectural report, excuse me. So we are waiting to hear from them. Looking at around $4.1 million is the estimate for this, as well as land acquisition and the infrastructure to support just the community club building itself. So I don't know what that funding amount from USDA might be. That, of course, though, will guide what we ask for from some of these other funding opportunities with the state with a CAT grant, for instance, as we look at the rest of the site. So waiting for this piece to, knock on wood, hopefully fall into place, and then we'll continue forth with those other pieces as well. One thing I will add, I know we mentioned painting City Hall, but we have talked about moving the city clerk's office and council chambers over to this new building. Again, if you've been to city council meetings, they can be tight, especially if we're just in the city hall and not in fire hall. So we'll see what happens from that perspective. I will also note, we do have some storm hardened facilities in the community club that was not in place. So if people are at the club or if they're out at the ball fields, there will be a place for them to go if a storm should hit. So in summary, so far we've got $4.7 million in grant funding, estimating the match is just around 2.3. So we're right around $7 million in grant funding or local developer funding that's been pumped into the community in these last couple of years. And then, of course, still looking at other funding opportunities as they arise. It's gotten a little bit easier as we have some specific asks as far as here's this particular playground piece we want, here are these plants, here's this, that, the other thing. So getting into some of those more nitty gritty funding requests at this point.
When you start the project before the final, the rest of the money comes?
So for the community recreation hub, yes. So waiting to see on this USDA funding, that'll unlock some other opportunities. But looking at, we're open to phasing it. The whole thing right around 7 million or so. And that's a big number for any community, and especially a community the size of Minden. So knowing that we will phase it in, but really working diligently to try to get something, the kiddos have been without a ball field for 2 years now, 2 seasons. So really want to get something back for them as soon as possible.
And our contract with McClure is coming to an end.
We are working to stretch it as much as possible, but yes, it is.
Any thoughts on what
Um,
request will be?
I know that the city would like to continue with funding support with some of this engineering work. We're probably 90 to 100,000 to keep us on another year to get through some of these different funding pieces and design, like for the community recreation hub. Engineers are more expensive than I am. So just getting all of that layout completed. So when I talked to the city clerks a week or two ago, they were suggesting maybe asking for half of that from the county.
We'll have a future meeting with Iowa West and Advanced Southwest, Iowa, and
The county. Okay, perfect.
Questions, comments? Stephanie, thanks for coming in. This looks really good. Impressive. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks as
There's-
always.
You walk into Minden and there's just a renewed spirit in town. It's really exciting. You can feel it.
It's great.
With 88 homes, will they double the size? No?
I don't know if they'll-
Double.
Not quite double, but they benefit from location, from the great school district. They're one of the few rural communities in Iowa, I would say, that actually has that growth potential. And I think with all of these investments, with the parks, the trail eventually running through there, they're going to be well suited to compete.
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you. Good to see you all.
Good. Okay, next up, Daniel Morse, Captain, Council Bluffs Fire Department. Discussion and or decision to approve and authorize board chair to sign a letter support for fiscal year 26 Omaha Council Bluffs Metro Area Planning Agency, Safe Streets and Roads for All supplemental planning and demonstration grant. Boy, that's a lot to say.
It's a lot. Well, thank you for having me. So what we're seeking is a letter of support. What Council Bluffs has signed on to is a grant program that the Metro Area Planning Association is working together. The communities involved in the metro area are Council Bluffs, Bennington, Waterloo, and Gretna are all inside of this grant. And what the grant is through, it's the National Transportation Administration grant process. It's designed to try to make our roadways safer. So there's one part of the grant that the area had really kind of left out, and that was treating people once they've been injured. If you look at statistics through the state of Iowa, between 21 and 23, there were 1,069 traffic-related deaths. A number that we can adjust with EMS and fire response is 380 of those were still alive when EMS got there. We can show that when we give whole blood in a traumatic injury like that, we increase chance of survival by 25%. So if we take all those numbers just in that 3-year look, there's 95 people in the state of Iowa that were potentially saved if we had whole blood product available in EMS. The metro area, and one of the things that I'm really excited about is we have all of the players in the metro area working on the same page, sharing resources and ideas with the project. Omaha has been running a whole blood program for less than a year, but seen some really good success with it. But it would make blood product available inside the city of Council Bluffs and because of mutual aid beyond the city and well out into the county as well. It takes money to get it started, and that's what this grant is designed to do. It would pay for equipment and training for our personnel to be able to get blood product available in our ambulances. And then through billing and other things within the department, we can sustain it from there. But it's the initial cost of getting the equipment and the training to be able to get it up on board.
Dan, would it go to the volunteer fire departments too, or just?
So this is specifically with Council Bluffs. I do know there's some other ideas out there. We, as far as Council Bluffs Fire goes, we have been providing a lot more mutual aid in the last few years than we have in the past. So I can think of several times off the top of my head where we responded to, say, Underwood's territory up on the interstate, or we've, Oakland or Trainer, Lewis Township, they've all requested our assistance for treatment of a patient. So in sense of mutual aid, yeah, it would get out there, but because of the cost and the maintenance of this, us having a paid department, it's much easier for us to maintain. That blood product has to be rotated every 10 days. Otherwise, there is a $600 cost associated with it. The coolers that has to go into are anywhere from $6,000 to $21,000 a piece. So there's a lot of checks and balances that have to go, and for good reason. We have a very big blood shortage in the area. It's a very precious commodity to have. But having the ability to get it to the street level where the injury occurs, we know statistically that we can save several lives with that, by having that program up and running. The Midwest is a little bit behind the game on getting whole blood product into EMS. If you look at both coasts and several other areas throughout the country, they've been doing it for a few years now. The first pilot program in the state of Iowa is currently being done by Des Moines and West Des Moines. If we get this program up and running and we get the grant, the funding would start in 2027, so July of 27, with the intent that blood product is available in our community by 28. That would definitely put us in the front of the state of Iowa as far as having a blood program available. So
So which agency would you work with for the blood product?
so and I can't remember the name, they have a blood storage site at Mercy Hospital in Council Bluffs. That's where they're the supply hub for both hospitals. They have a storage bank at Mercy, Council Bluffs. But they provide pretty much every metro hospital with the blood product, as well as Omaha Fire. That's where they get their blood product from now. And all the other agencies, including Bellevue and the other three that I mentioned, would all be using the same supplier. They're known for being able to move blood product across state lines, which makes it much easier for us because there's some rules and regs that I don't understand on that. But they would supply it to the hospital, and that's where we do our exchanges at. And we would not be, it would be an increased supply chain. One of the questions I've gotten from the hospitals is this going to take away from our supply? And it would be an increased amount allotted to them because of us into that hospital system. It wouldn't take away from what they're currently capable of carrying and having on hand.
Okay, so today you're just asking for a letter of support. You're not asking for funding.
No funding. The only thing that I'm asking for is a letter of support to the transportation secretary. We're trying to, get as many elected and local leaders that we can, to help us say, hey, we need this in our area, and to try to increase that funding loop. There's a lot of money available on this grant cycle, and we're going as a group, we're going for a very small chunk of it, but we want to try to make sure we get that priority up. When you look at our traffic, Iowa has one number, but then if you look at the Omaha Metro, that number of, I think it's 39.6% are alive when EMS gets there, but later die. That number is actually higher in the Omaha Metro. It's closer to like 48%, which includes us and the surrounding area. So that's Pottawatomie, Mills County, as well as I think 4 counties in Nebraska that are all in that number. Our number is higher than what the national average should be, or what the state average is, so.
Okay. I'm thinking like Lewis Township, they have paid people there. You mutual aid them, or are they included in the program?
No, we would mutual aid them.
Okay.
And we mutual aid with Lewis Township on a regular basis. We have a great working relationship with them, as well as, the ones that touch Council Bluffs, Trainer, Oakland, Underwood. We work with them on a regular basis. And so them knowing that we have the blood product available, if they're seeing something, they're probably going to request that mutual aid maybe a little bit quicker. Even if they do have a paramedic, they want to be able to get that blood product to them. A lot of unsure on how it would all be implemented at the moment. Right now, the only thing that we're trying to do is to get the grant started so we can get funding off the ground to get the program up and running. I'm not sure how it looks for the city of Council Bluffs or the fire department quite yet. It's more about trying to get that seed money to get the program started.
Well, I appreciate all the effort that you put into it so far, and it's obviously something you're passionate about.
I think it's something that our community could definitely, not only, the city of Council Bluffs, but the surrounding community. I think that we can make an impact. If we make an impact on one person's life, then it's worth the effort. 39% of traffic fatalities being alive when EMS gets there. How can we intervene? We're already advancing EMS so much farther as far as protecting airways and bleeding control and things like that. But once the blood's out of the body, realistically right now, we don't have any way until we get them to the hospital to try to intervene. And this would bridge that gap. It would give people an extra chance to survive and have loved ones go home if we're able to get this program up and running.
So you say you're talking to other organizations too? And
Correct.
Okay, do you have a standard letter for us to sign or?
So I do have it's not a standard letter, but it's a template letter that I emailed. I believe I emailed it to you. Yep.
Packet.
So it's just, it kind of outlines what the need for the Council Bluffs part of the metro is. I think it mentions we have over 75,000 vehicles a day coming through our interchange system and things like that. It's more specific to Council Bluffs. The other area organizations have a similar letter, but it's more specific to them. Part of the reason why again, the collaboration to try to get the funding, because it's more pieces into the Omaha Metro to increase the need. But from my standpoint of somebody on the ground, being able to share resources on, hey, how are you guys working this? Hey, we're running into this problem. What are you guys doing for protocol and when it should be administered? Those are resources that no funding can touch. Those are ones that put fire chiefs and fire captains and everybody else in the same room talking, and we all come up with a better practice for ourselves. And that's a huge resource in it.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve and authorize the board chair to sign the letter of support.
I'll second that. This is the second letter we've sent for this grant. Hopefully there's enough money. The previous one was for secondary roads and the Safe Street program through Crescent. Hopefully we at least get one of the two.
Okay. Got a motion to approve by Miller and a second by Wickman to sign the letter of support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Got it, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You probably want a copy of this now, don't you? Here, I'll give it to her.
Okay.
Give it to me, or meet you around there.
Okay.
Save a little time and effort there. Okay, next up. Discussion and or decision to approve and sign proclamation designating May 17th and 23rd as EMS week.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Will you do a roll call?
Chairman Jay,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Okay, and then I'll read this. Whereas Emergency Medical Services Week, May 17th to the 23rd, 2026. Whereas Emergency Medical Services, EMS, is a vital public service that plays a critical role in protecting health, safety, and well-being of residents and visitors throughout Pottawatomie County. And whereas members of the EMS team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and often serving communities across both urban and rural areas of the county. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those with sudden illness or injury. Whereas EMS providers deliver critical out-of-hospital care, including emergency response, treatment, transport, preventable education, follow-up care, and coordination with local hospitals and healthcare partners. Whereas EMS professionals are often the first point of medical care for residents during emergencies, severe weather events, traffic accidents, public health incidents, and other critical situations. And whereas the EMS system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, educators, administrators, nurses, physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers who work together to serve the community. And whereas many EMS providers throughout Potawatomi County serve in volunteer or combination departments, dedicating countless hours of training, continuing education, and service to ensure emergency care is available when and where it is needed most. Now therefore be it resolved, the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2026 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Potawatomi County, Iowa, with the national theme, Improving Outcomes Together. The board encourages all residents to observe this week and honor EMS profession and the essential service it provides to our communities. Approve this 19th day of May 2026.
I'm glad you came back in, Dan, for that reading, since you represent the EMS community this morning.
Okay. Motion carried on that. Okay, next up, David, the wall
We
that,
need a photo.
oh,
It's a
sure,
photo.
sure, okay.
Thank you.
Just up there with the proclamation. Thank you.
I talked to Jacob at Lewis Township, and he must be out on a call this morning.
Just a minute, I'll bring it down to my, let everybody get signed up here.
They've been busy this morning. Yeah.
Really?
Jake, out at Lewis, everybody's been running a lot this morning, so. I just turned my radio off.
Thanks.
A good network of people out there
It is,
providing valuable service.
it is. We have some good people around the area too.
You what?
We're always recruiting more.
Go ahead, sign.
Recruiting stuff, it's getting tougher. For this one? Thank you.
I can show you what you do.
That good?
Next up, the Wall That Heals Committee. First, final update on the Wall That Heals coming to Potawatomi County over Memorial Day weekend 2026. And we still need volunteers.
This is our final update because it gets here tomorrow. The motorcade escort officially kicks off tomorrow. It'll arrive in Avoca at the East County Fairgrounds. We kickstands up at 2 p.m. there, and then it'll make its way through the county until it gets to Lewis Central High School, where it will be on display starting after it gets assembled on Thursday, and then it'll be open 24 hours a day to the public until 2 p.m. on Memorial Day. So we're very excited. The committee has been working on this for pretty much a year. We can't believe it's finally here. Ceremony scheduled for this weekend as well. Friday, we'll have our welcome home ceremony at 5 p.m. So that's the official kind of kickoff for the weekend. Saturday morning, we'll have the Quilts of Valor ceremony at 10 a.m. Sunday evening, we'll have Light the Night for PTSD at 8:30 p.m. And then on Monday, we will close things down with a Memorial Day and closing ceremony at 1:15. Anything you want to add?
And again, we're just really appreciative of all the support from all of the citizens of Potawatomi County and Council Bluffs. Very generous donations. We set a goal of $20,000 to support this initiative. We raised $37,000. So that's very impactful for not only this initiative, but that's going to allow us to continue to support initiatives through the Veteran Service Office as we move forward with outreach in Potawatomi County. So again, it's been an exhausting year. We have a little over 100 hours left until the completion of this initiative. But I think it's going to be very memorialized for the community members that have never had that opportunity to travel to DC and actually visit this monument. So Kate and I both, along with several committee members, have had very impactful conversations with individuals that are looking forward to visiting this memorial.
David, the setup starts at what time?
So Thursday morning at 8 a.m. sharp, we will begin the setup of the mobile education center, connect all of the power sources to support that. Wednesday afternoon, once the motorcade arrives, we will set up the apex on the soccer field, which is the beginning connection of the wall. Again, at 8 a.m., we will start. It'll be a two-pronged approach. The education center and most predominantly, most of the volunteers will be focusing on the wall. So that takes multiple hours to get that all in line, get the canopy, get all the logistics completed. And then as Kate mentioned, once that is all done, it is officially open. But again, we're really not kicking this off until Friday afternoon with some memorial stuff. Thursday, it's open 24 hours from there until 2 p.m. on Monday.
Okay, I understand you're struggling with some volunteers for Monday afternoon for tear down. You
Yes.
still need a lot of volunteers.
We do. That's one of the shifts that still needs some coverage. So teardown will start promptly at 2 p.m. So if anybody has some availability on Memorial Day afternoon, that would be wonderful. The only other shifts where we really still need coverage, it's mostly those later evening or very early morning or overnight shifts. So 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Thursday night, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday night, 1 to 5 a.m. on Sunday morning, 5 to 9 a.m. Sunday morning, and 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday night, and then 1 to 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it's those 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. shifts that have been the toughest to fill. If you know anybody who's a night owl, we will take them. I know several individuals in this room are people who are already signed up to volunteer, so we appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing everybody who can make it to volunteer training on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. We'll hand out volunteer shirts at that point. Otherwise, I know some of you have already gotten your shirts, so make sure you wear those when you're volunteering. Anything else? Any other questions?
Thanks for all you've done for this. This is really a big deal. I've talked to a lot of people and they're pretty excited about it.
It's my understanding from Peggy that there will be flowers and things left at the marker or at the memorial wall from individuals around here. And any of those things will be on display at our Veteran Services offices.
Yes, so if anyone does leave something at the wall, that does get collected during teardown, or basically I think right before teardown, and then that is can be on display at the Veteran Service office.
You know, I can remember when they built the wall out in DC, and it a lot of criticism of it. People didn't quite understand what it was at the time, but it has become a very, very popular attraction in DC. I was out there not too long ago, and the amount of flowers and letters just laying on the ground right there, right, you know, where people have lost loved ones during the Vietnam War. And I mean, it is very impactful. So I'm glad to see this happening here.
Thank you. And we've mentioned this before, but we will replicate the same experience that you can have in DC, where we'll have individuals, some of our volunteers will be at the visitor information tent with information to help you track if there's a name you're looking for on one of the panels. They'll be able to find the number panel it's on and the row that it's in. So you can do a name etching or rubbing. We'll have the paper, we'll have the proper pencils. So all of that will be at the Wall That Heals as well. So we'll have those supplies. I'll be looking to be able to do that as well.
I appreciate the efforts of the committee. I know you guys spent a lot of time on it, and I just can't wait to see the event take place.
You didn't have any gray hair before this, did you, David?
0.
We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
This will be a big deal. Okay. Anything else? Next up, Becky Lenahan, Finance and Tax Officer, Auditor's Office. Discussion on our decision to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 35-2026 entitled Resolution for transfer from Potawatomi County Industrial Park Fund to Impact Fund.
Morning, this is the industrial park fund is where the tax money collections go to for the industrial park TIF revenues. And I'm just transferring those per state auditor's advice back into that impact fund to help supplement that back from what was borrowed out of there to do all of the things out there at the industrial park.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 35, 2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion by Miller, a second by Jorgensen to approve resolution 35, 2026. Jamie, would you do a roll call?
Chairman Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Next up, resolution number 35, 2026. Resolution for transfer from Rural Services Fund to Secondary Road Fund. We do this, what, twice a year?
3 times a year. Once we do just a quarter of it. This time we're doing 2 quarters. And then I'll come again very shortly before the end of the year to do the last quarter.
Okay,
This is just the transfer from rural funds or rural services to secondary roads per the code.
okay. Questions? Comments?
I'll second.
You got it? Who?
Tim moved it.
Okay. A motion by Wickman, a second by Miller to approve resolution 36, 2026. Will you do a roll call, Jamie?
Chairman Shay,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Thanks,
Really
Becky.
appreciate that. Next up, Matt Wilbur, attorney, a legal update on wind energy. Hi, Matt.
Oh,
This is anxiously awaited for.
sure. It's one of my favorite topics.
So,
This will be really a legal update. I'm gonna just want to advise the board sort of like how I think the wind landscape has changed over the past couple of months. I'm not planning on really talking about any specific projects. Obviously, the RWE project we've been dealing with. This isn't really the time or place to deal with that. I can tell you that I did have a phone call with Christy Rogers, who's the attorney for RWE, yesterday. I spoke with her. And told her, and she actually volunteered, she said she'd be happy to come down and talk to the board in open session, answer any questions that you may have about their particular project. I said, it's your call. If you want to show up, you can talk today. I don't really think that, I really want to just give this board sort of a generic update, and maybe that's something we could do in a few weeks. And so I'm going to just sort of confine this to just sort of advising you on the way I've seen sort of some changes in in how we're looking at wind in Iowa. So as this board knows, back in 2008, we had a certain set of ordinances in place that I would say were pretty typical for around the state. I mean, I wouldn't say that they were super permissive, but they weren't very restrictive as far as what we would do with wind or solar projects. And I believe it was November 23, this board voted to have a moratorium on new wind projects and hired Baird Home Law Firm to give us sort of a updated set of ordinances that I would say are considerably more restrictive, probably more protective of, I won't say people's property as far as them wanting to put a windmill on their property, but more protective probably of neighbors that are concerned about tower heights and, a lot of those things, that were going on. And so this board voted 5-0 in February of 24, then to adopt those, I would say more restrictive ordinances. And that's something I think that's been going on sort of around the state. Some counties are treating these cases or these, developments a little more permissive, some are being more restrictive, some are essentially killing all projects, with restrictions, some are trying to find middle ground. So that's sort of the landscape that we're dealing with. So, one of the cases that was working its way through the system was the case of Worthwhile Wind versus Worth County. And that has been I'd say certainly a significant case for all of us that have been paying attention to this issue around the state. The Iowa Supreme Court had it. It was argued and they came down, and I believe it was 6-1 was the decision, came down Friday, April 24th, in what I would consider a pretty big victory for local control. Worth County had done very similar things to Pottawatomie County. I mean, this case and its existence was one of the reasons I've had some pretty hard swallowing about how we deal with, wind projects, because if you lose litigation like this, it's very, very expensive. Worthwhile Wind, when it came down Friday, the 24th, I'm like, that's pretty good. I mean, it sort of feels like almost exactly what had occurred in Worth County, was what had happened in Pottawatomie County as far as ordinance, et cetera. And so I would say that the Supreme Court pretty much affirmed the strength of local control over zoning ordinances through the Worthwhile Wind case. That lasted about 3 days. And then the Iowa Utilities Commission entered its decision in it was Cerro Gordo County. I'm not sure the exact name. I call it the Ranger Power case, but it was out of Cerro Gordo County. That was actually a solar project, not a wind project, but the cases are pretty much the same. And it had to do with Ranger Power, or I think it might have been River City Energy, had applied for a state generation permit. I'm probably not using the exact language right, but they applied with the Iowa Utilities Commission, basically did an end around where they did not even apply for any local permits through Cerro Gordo County for putting a solar power generating plant into Cerro Gordo County. And that was subject of a considerable fight, including Cerro Gordo intervening in that, trying to say that at the very least, they should have been applying for zoning, for building permits, et cetera, in Cerro Gordo County. And the Ranger Power, I won't call it case because it's before the Utilities Commission, but the decision that came out of Ranger Power was that they totally blew off county zoning. There's 3 decisional criteria that the Utilities Commission has to make a decision about before they decide if they will grant basically a generating permit. The first 2 really don't apply to the county situation, but the third, I bookmarked it because it's a 77-page decision. But it says the third decisional criteria is that the commission has to decide, will a construction, maintenance, and operation of the facility be consistent with reasonable land use and environmental policies and consonant with reasonable utilization of air, land, and water resources, considering available technology and the economics of available alternatives. And so the fight that Cerro Gordo was having was that they said that reasonable land use restrictions should include consideration of their zoning regulations. And the Utilities Commission came down and basically said, no, we will look at them, but a county's ordinances and a county's zoning regulations are of, I don't want to say they say little weight, but they really gave it very little weight. And they ultimately just decided, we will decide as a Utilities Commission about whether we believe a particular project is or is not reasonable as far as land use. And so I know that Cerro Gordo has filed a motion to reconsider that opinion. That's really, there's not going to be any change in that, but that's usually sort of a precursor to filing an appeal. So I would anticipate that we're going to see this commission decision end up in further litigation as it works its way through the system. And that could take a couple of years. But that's the sort of the state of the law as it exists right now, is that the Utilities Commission does have the power to issue these generating, permits on their own. All right, added into this layer was the fact that we had 2 companion bills going through the legislature, House File 2580 and Senate File 2447, which are almost identical. There were a few minor changes, but those were both going through the legislature. And they would have basically taken, I would say, local control out of our county's hands. The thought was that we have 99 counties with 99 different zoning schemes, and that it's very hard for businesses to figure out what they're doing with that type of piecemeal regulation. And so the thought has been that they should come up with a state law that will govern, permitting of these projects and basically take counties out of the process. Though neither of those bills passed, I mean, there were Commerce Committee bills. They both got placed on the unfinished business calendar. There was some thought that they might get revived once these two decisions came down, but ultimately May 3rd, legislature was, adjourned for the year. And so those bills, while probably technically could come up, they're done at least for this year. So, that is sort of what I see as the legal landscape that we're dealing with right now. We've got, I think, a very good set of ordinances. I mean, they were professionally drafted. You brought in a wind expert and, to really assist, in drafting that, with our current scheme, of land use and regulation. So I think that's good. The danger I'd say that the county is running into right now is one that's not really within our control. And that is, does a producer like RWE decide to just file for a permit through the Utilities Commission and do an end around on the county? And that's not really something, I mean, I'm here to give you a legal update. Some of this is probably more of a political update, for your decisions, and those are a lot less concerning to me as your lawyer. I'm just trying to find ways to minimize the potential for legal liability. And I think that the Worthwhile Wind case has certainly changed the landscape as far as, I'd say, legal risk in whatever decision you make. I mean, I think that there's no question that the county is better positioned from a legal risk perspective to make whatever. I'm not saying you're in favor or against. I think it gives the board, it gives certainly me more comfort as your lawyer that we would not be maybe at risk of what I would call a catastrophic lawsuit in the event that you decided to oppose, a particular project. That doesn't mean that there's no risk. I just think that there's less risk. I had a phone call also with Eric Updegraff shortly after the Worthwhile Wind decision, and Ranger Power came down. I think he's on and he is the one that argued Worthwhile Wind at the Iowa Supreme Court. So if there's anybody that's up to speed on it, it's Eric. Eric would agree that I think that the risks are lower. They're not gone, but they might be more manageable. So if you got questions, I'm happy to answer what I can. Like I said, I really don't want to talk specifics of any projects, but I'm happy to take any questions you've got.
Matt, real quick, the Utilities Board, that's a separate entity. It's not controlled by the governor's office.
It's a state, yeah, I mean, that'd be appointed commissioners, so it's a state board. I mean, that's,
So it's just three people.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do know, I meant to say, I do know, my understanding at least is that since that decision came down, Mid-American Energy, I think, has applied for one of those types of permits, not in our county, but elsewhere. But I mean, that's definitely, that Ranger Power decision is definitely one that I would say companies that are looking to expand, whether it's solar or wind energy projects, they're definitely looking at closely.
So the Utilities Board doesn't have to answer to the Iowa Supreme Court.
They would have to. That's what I said. That's the question is, but these are different. The Iowa Supreme Court case came up. The Worthwhile Wind Energy did not come up through the Utilities Commission route. It came through an attack on the local zoning ordinances. So there will be a whole separate issue that will have to be litigated over, I would say, the next couple of years over whether or not the Utilities Commission overstepped its bounds. I'm not going to pretend. I mean, I feel like I'm mostly up to speed on this. I mean, that is a lengthy decision to get through. I mean, there definitely was a lot of authority cited in the Ranger Power decision that I think courts would have to look through. But obviously, in looking at the Iowa Supreme Court, I mean, if you look at the Worthwhile Wind case, they obviously are trying to give, I think, pretty strong credence to local control. And so how they would rule on a case, probably anybody's guess at this point. Tim?
I looked at the opinion of the Supreme Court in the Worthwhile case.
Yep.
Almost all of the issues that were raised are almost fits Potawatomi County to a T.
As close to identical as I would imagine.
Almost, I wouldn't say perfect, but damn close.
Very close.
And the, it came down to vested rights.
Right.
It's whether that, a permit or anything was applied for. So, almost to a T.
Yeah, on the vested rights issue, I would absolutely agree. They sort of left a little wiggle room on the bad faith question. And that was one I think that also made Eric, up to Graff a little bit, nervous. That's why I always like to caution all of you to be careful what public statements you make, because when you say things like, I never want any wind projects, then that can be potential. That was one of the reasons that Cerro Gordo, I think, lost in the Ranger Power case, is that because they cited this, they said they had multiple members of the Board of Supervisors up there that had basically said, we weren't gonna allow any of these projects. And so they're like, why should we even care about your local zoning ordinances when you've set up a situation that's impossible to pass those? And so that's why I said, this is tough. And I understand, like I said, I'm giving you the legal advice. Politically, you say what you have to say, but just understand that there can be legal consequences for, for positions that you take.
We took a lot of time in putting that ordinance together. It wasn't a, shoot from the cuff.
Oh, no,
kind
it's,
of thing.
and like I said, those are good. I think they're good ordinances. I mean, I think you brought in an expert on that area, at a Baird home. I mean, this is not like you sat together, and just went into the back room and started drafting up some ordinances. I mean, this was actually put together, I felt like by a good, I mean, the only question that you would have at this point, and again, this is not a legal issue, it's more of a political question, and that's, you have some control over what kind of project would be existing in Potawatomi County if you're talking to those developers. If it's a decision that comes down from the Iowa Utilities Commission, we just have to eat whatever decision they make. That said, Iowa Supreme Court could easily come back in 2 years and tell them same thing. Like, we feel like you've trod into local control too much. And if that's the case, then, so be it.
So is it the governor that appoints those 3 members?
I don't know that answer. I mean, I would assume so. I mean, it feels to me like it's a state board. I don't know who else would be involved in it.
They can be replaced at any time, I'm guessing.
I think there's one new one. And is there 2?
You have terms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one's new, I'm sure. And the governor does appoint.
Well, after reading the Worth decision, I'm not worried at all. Our ordinances are not the most restrictive.
Yeah.
And they're not the less restrictive of all of the counties across Iowa and across the country that we looked at when we put this together.
Yeah, I would say in looking at just a normal hypothetical case, project to come in, I would agree with you. And I feel like this board, it did, I think, a pretty responsible job with ordinances that I put into place. I think all you really have to show is that you have a rational basis for the restrictions that you put into place. And I think just about every decision that is from these ordinances can be justified.
What word did you use when you said that, if a board member were to, I think you mentioned it in the connected power agreement, where supervisors made comments outside of their.
Are you saying when it's the bad faith argument, or?
Well, yeah. There was no bad faith in what we did.
Yeah,
We put a moratorium on until we got the ordinance done. We completed the ordinance, took the moratorium off.
Yeah. The concerns with the bad faith argument, so I said there's a little wiggle room, is as long as you are not really passing an ordinance for the purpose of going after one specific project, right? I mean, the reality is at the time that we had, when you passed your ordinances, at the time you had your moratorium and passed the ordinances then in 2024. At that time, I don't know how many, but there were several proposed, projects that were being looked at in the county at that time. And once the new ordinances went into place, all of them but one went away. They all just decided that they were not, they were not far enough down the line to even make an argument about vested rights. And so I think they all really went away. And so you've really got this one legacy project that we are still sort of, trying to hash out. There's no question, I think that legally our position is a different animal now than we were before April 24th. I said, if at any point you want to speak to, or you want to invite RWE council to come in, I can absolutely set that up. I know they're willing to do it. I'm not suggesting you should or should not. I'm just, letting you know that they've extended that, I don't want to say olive branch, but they've certainly extended that opportunity if you'd like to hear from them.
That it?
My legal update.
Questions, comments? Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Matt.
putting that together.
Really appreciate that.
But some reading I'd rather not do, to be honest with you. I hate to say I prefer looking at police reports than utility commission reports, but is what it is.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The Worth County report is in the nonpareil this morning too.
So what's that?
The finding on the Worth County.
Oh, okay.
Article in the
All right.
paper this morning.
Yeah. No, I said there's no question that was a significant local control victory out of that case. No question.
All right,
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we're gonna do committee appointments. Susan, you want to start us out?
I attended the Mappa Heartland 2050 site tour in Detroit last week. There were 2 states, 6 counties represented, and Mappa has been working on this 2050 vision for several years. I was at their kickoff for that back in 2010, I believe, and I thought 2050 sure seemed like a long ways away, but it's getting here closer all the time.
That's scary.
But basically, it's looking at the future of the metro area, and they went to Detroit to look at it.
Okay. Tim?
I participated in the supervisor candidate forum in Oakland a week ago. A good get together. And also, I want to thank our planning and development director, Mr. Matt Wyatt. I'm a member of the Trainer Optimist Club, and every Saturday morning we meet and trainer and have guest speakers come in. And he was our guest speaker last Saturday. So I very much appreciate him being there. And I'm going to have a couple more county department heads coming out and speaking at the Optimist Club. But I always appreciate them being willing to do that. So thank you. That's all I have.
I attended the power meet that was here last Monday or Tuesday. And it was for the whole board. Then I went to Hitchcock for the conservation meeting. Done the mental health open house, which was really neat. Unleash CB had a roads meeting out on Limekiln Avenue about realignment of some of it. Went to ribbon cutting for McCabe Law. Deb Peterson went over to McCabe Law. I went to the PACE event. It's called The Exchange, spent Friday there. And yesterday went to a tornado recovery deal. Wow. So, okay. Next up, public comments. Anybody sign up? Okay. I
I'll
will
move we go
entertain
into
a motion.
closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 20.17, parent 3 for discussion decision on labor negotiations, collective bargaining matters.
Second.
Motion by Wickman and second by Miller to go into closed session for labor negotiations. Would you do a roll call, please?
Jay,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman, Supervisor Miller. Aye. Supervisor Jorgensen.
Aye.